Today.com, President Biden hosted Ukrainian President Zelensky at the White House. We have the details on their talks. And all 40 members of a high school band were hurt when their charter bus went tumbling off a New York highway Thursday afternoon. Sources say 2 people were killed in the crash. And we're continuing coverage on the theft of a tabernacle stolen from an El Campo Catholic church earlier this month. Authorities say more arrests were made in the case this week. We have the latest.
And we're still talking about that possible cool front and rain coming on Monday. We'll have more on the weather coming up in just a few moments.
You're watching 25 News Now Sunrise. Good morning and thank you for joining us. I'm Carolina Astrain.
And I'm Parker Cox.
And today it's the 22nd day of September 2023. The time is now just about 6:31 on your Friday morning. And today I'm going to call this Fall Eve because tomorrow is the first day of fall.
Woo, let's go. We're almost there. It's tomorrow.
Yeah, we need that seasonal closure. We need to add some of those, those fall leaves in your weather graphics.
Oh yeah. I need to make all the leaves red. I need to turn all those trees to red, don't I?
That's right. And you need to start planning your Thanksgiving meal too.
That's exciting. Absolutely. Well, we're looking at a possible cool front coming on Monday, and we might start seeing those leaves start turning red eventually the next week or so as we might start looking at fall weather. Look at a live look at Cuero right now, not a cloud in the sky as you can see. In fact, those conditions are pretty nice as well. 75 degrees right now. 74 is that dew point, bringing that humidity up to a 96%. So if you're driving out today, this morning, please be careful as you might see some patchy fog. Well, like we were saying, that first day of fall is tomorrow. Here it is, September 23rd. Woo, tomorrow, Saturday. Yes, we are still in the 90s, unfortunately, or fortunately for some of us. But we were talking about this cool front coming down to our neck of the woods on Monday. Here it is. This is that upper level low that has been moving out of the western Canadas into the Rockies, and then eventually this week and tomorrow and Sunday into the Dakotas, South Dakota. And look at that massive trough of rain going all the way from North Dakota all the way down to Texas. As you can see, it hasn't reached our area yet, but by Monday, that rain might create a little cool front and move it down our way. Woo, and maybe some rain. Awesome. Well, looking at the tropics, there's not much going on out there right now other than this is tropical storm. I think it's tropical storm status now, but this is NVEST 16, but I'm pretty sure, like I said, it's tropical storm right now. Other than that, there is a tropical wave that just came off the west coast, which I accidentally hit the wrong button, and of west coast of Africa. But looking at your 7-day forecast, it's 95 today in the crossroads, 94 tomorrow, and pretty consistent temperatures over the weekend. And with that front coming maybe on Monday. That's it for the weather. Back to you, Carolina.
Thank you, Parker. Joe Biden and Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky met in the White House's Oval Office Thursday. The two discussed the ongoing invasion of Ukraine and declared that no nation will be secure if we do not stand up to the invasion. Zelensky thanked both the president and Congress for the frank and constructive dialogue during their meetings. Biden is also expected to announce an additional U.S. aid package to Ukraine valued at up to $325 million. Two U.S. leaders confirmed that to sources. This package is separate from the additional $24 billion that the president wants Congress to approve for Ukraine. Now to the latest on that deadly bus crash, a student band trip turning tragic north of New York City. More than 40 students were hurt and 2 adult lives were lost.
2 massive tow trucks pulled that charter bus from a ravine hours after it careened off a New York highway, killing 2 people and sending all 40 high school students on board to the hospital.
We're safe, thank God, but we're praying for all the families.
The bus was carrying members of a marching band from Long Island to Pennsylvania when it skidded off the highway, landing on its side and tumbling 50 feet.
Imagine the fear, the screams, in the aftermath, when these high school students were surrounded by this chaos.
I woke up, I heard this really weird sound, and then I heard the bus start to roll over the hill.
15-year-old Anthony Eugenio recalls the bus rolling over several times.
I heard him start screaming, and then I felt it. As soon as I picked my head up, the kid next to me was covered in blood. I saw blood everywhere.
2 adults were killed, including 77-year-old Beatrice Ferrari, a retired teacher described as the heart and soul of the band program. Also killed, the band's director, 43-year-old Gina Pelletieri.
She was an inspiration to me. She was always happy, always positive, always passionate.
Many of the students' classmates learned about the crash from text messages.
Somebody sitting in our class and showing us the pictures and stuff. You know, it's not a great way to find out.
The NTSB is investigating, but authorities say a blown tire is likely to blame for the crash. Rhiannon Alley, ABC News, New York.
5 students were still in critical condition last night. Police are taking down the suspects accused of stealing a tabernacle from an El Campo Catholic church. El Campo police tell us 2 more people were arrested in the case this week. 34-year-old Ryan Reyes was arrested just yesterday and faces felony charges of tampering with evidence and evading arrest. Earlier this week, 61-year-old Sandra Rivera Hedges was taken into custody and charged with tampering with evidence. Authorities say Rivera Hedges is the mother of 44-year-old Thomas Graham, one of the men accused in the case. Graham faces charges of theft of property, criminal mischief, and damage to a place of worship. Another man, 29-year-old Jose Jaramillo, faces those same charges in this case. Leaders with the church tell the El Campo leader news additional items were recovered, but not everything has been returned. The Biden administration made the announcement to resume offering free COVID-19 tests starting Monday. Americans will be able to request 4 free tests online. The government is relaunching the program in time for the fall and winter when the virus typically spreads at higher levels. The at-home test set to be delivered will detect currently circulating COVID variants. If going fishing is in your weekend plans, don't forget your bait and hooks. Here's Sports Director Gino Perez with what you can expect to catch out on the water.
Grab your poles, Crossroads. It's time to go fishing. In East and West Matagorda Bay, fishing is fair but should improve when the equinox tide raises water level. Few catches of trout on artificials, and redfish are best on cut mullet in shallow water. In Port O'Connor, redfish can be found off the jetties on Spanish sardines. Lastly, in Rockport, trout are good in 2 to 4 feet of water on live bait. Good luck and be safe out there. That's your 25 Sports Now fishing report.
Thank you, Gino. All right, remember, subscribe to our YouTube channel, Crossroads Today. Hit the like button and click the notification bell. The time is now 5:37 on your Friday morning. Here's a look at what's coming up on 25 News Now Sunrise. Goliad County seeing an influx of migrants crossing the border illegally. We spoke with the county sheriff about the issue.
The auto workers' strike could grow even larger in just a matter of hours. I'm ABC's Justin Finch with the union president's new warning for the big 3 automakers. That story coming up.
And we'll be talking about those possible rain chances coming around noontime. We'll have that looking at the full forecast coming up in a moment.
Here's a look at what you can expect on Community Crossroads. We hear from Woodrow Wilson Wagner II, Restoration House Ministries, the South Texas Blood and Tissue Center, and we also get some grief and grieving tips.
Grief has a lot of stress that builds up, and as Pastor Green said before, releasing that stress is important. And when it isn't released, it can have some physical consequences.
Good morning, Victoria. Look at a live look at Quora. Now look at that. As that sun's starting to come out, you got that purple sky. There it is. Woo, nice and pretty. Well, nice conditions out there too. Right now it's about 75 and 74 is that dew point, bringing the humidity up pretty high to a high 96. So if you're driving out there this morning, please be careful, as you might see some patchy fog. Well, it's Friday, or Football Friday, woohoo, as we might call it. The game of the week this week is the Shiner Comanches versus the Ganado Indians. Well, that kickoff temperature is going to be about 90 degrees, and it's going to be at Comanche Stadium right there, and partly cloudy skies are expected with a light breeze, 5-10 15 miles an hour. And if you're sending your kiddos off to school today, it'll be about 75 as they're heading to the bus and heading to school, and 95 as they're heading back home about 3 or 4 o'clock today. Look at the temperatures for the rest of the area. It's supposed to expected to warm up a little bit today, 96, 95 in our area, with the little sea breeze coming in later in the afternoon. Looking at your 7-day forecast, here it is. It's going to be about 95, 96 today, 94 tomorrow, with consistent temperatures this weekend and next week too. And look at that, maybe a cool front and that shower chance on Monday. That's it for the weather. Back to you, Carolina.
Thank you, Parker. Now to a pivotal deadline in the ongoing auto workers strike. The United Auto Workers Union president says the work stoppage could expand by noon Eastern time today unless serious progress is made in labor negotiations with Detroit's big 3 auto manufacturers.
This morning, the United Auto Workers Union awaiting its next steps.
I'm ready to do whatever my president says. If President Sean Fain says it's that plan, I'm ready.
UAW President Sean Fain warning that if there's no serious progress in talks with Ford, General Motors, or Chrysler and Jeep maker Stellantis by noon Eastern time today, the strike will expand to new facilities. Nearly 13,000 UAW members walked off the job 1 week ago at targeted plants in Michigan, Missouri, and Ohio, calling for cost of living adjustments, a return to worker pensions, and 40% wage increases.
We are offering an incredible, unprecedented increase. All they want is for everyone to make $300,000. That's not sustainable.
All 3 auto companies saying they've been in negotiations with the UAW as recently as Thursday as the rhetoric surrounding those talks escalates.
I think that you're seeing those media exchanges intensify, and that will only continue as the parties, as the UAW ratchets up the tensions.
Meantime, Stellantis, Ford, and GM have rolled out short-term layoffs for some non-striking auto workers. The union currently paying members on the picket lines $500 a week amid growing concerns in the auto industry and beyond about the consequences of a long-term strike.
Once you lose the labor that you had to lay off or maybe even terminate, good luck getting it back in this labor market.
The White House says it appreciates the UAW and the automakers remaining at the negotiating table, as some economic forecasts show even a 10-day strike could be devastating, costing the U.S. economy more than $5 billion in losses, including workers' wages. Justin Finch, ABC News, Washington.
Due to its location, the city of Goliad has dealt with illegal immigration, seeing the effects of the influx of migrants firsthand. We spoke with Goliad County Sheriff Roy Boyd about the issue of illegal immigration right here in the Crossroads and a task force he helped form to take down human smuggling operations. Sheriff Boyd says there isn't an exact number on the amount of persons being illegally smuggled into the Crossroads, but that number is well into the 6 figures annually. A task force between law enforcement agencies is successful in shutting down human smuggling operations, so much so that Sheriff Boyd says many cartel operations have now completely avoided setting up in Goliad altogether.
When you look at the situation, you realize that the government is actually assisting the transnational criminal organizations in their smuggling, because what this really is, it's not immigration. This is really slave trade, because most of these people are going to find themselves in indentured servitude right here in the United States, working for cartels or the people that the cartels sell them to. And it's something that we've said for a long time. This is good versus evil. And we can't allow this to continue, because we're not a nation that was built upon evil, but we find ourselves having to fight that evil on a daily basis. Unfortunately, our federal government is not on our side. In order to bring this to an end, we're going to have to understand that Mexico is not on our side. The government of Mexico is not an ally to the United States with regard to this issue. That's not to say the people of Mexico aren't, but their government is not. And we're going to have to take a hard stand against what is going on in Mexico and prevent their government from profiting off of the illegal smuggling of drugs and humans into the United States.
The task force came out of Governor Abbott's Lone Star operation funding, something Sheriff Boyd says is crucial in fighting transnational criminal organizations. Sheriff Boyd says, simply put, putting criminals behind bars and shutting down cartel operations make our communities safer. That leads us to your viewer poll. You can scan the QR code on your screen to take part. We ask you, what worries you when it comes to migrants crossing the border? Okay, let's take a look. 60% of you say you worry about crime. None of you say you worry about job security. 28% of you say you worry about increased homelessness. 3% of you say other, and 9% of you say you're not worried. We want to keep hearing from you. Come to crossroadstoday.com/vote to take part in our viewer poll. Coming up, we learn about the impacts of the nationwide blood shortage from the Donor Center Director for MD Anderson.
Well, good morning out there, Crossroads. It's going to be another warm day today. As you can see, about 96, 97, 95 today. 100 in Hallettsville, 99 in Nixon, and nice and warm around the coast, making a nice weekend to go to the beach. And speaking of beaches, we do have a weather poll right now. Today's weather poll asks, will you be visiting the warm beaches this weekend or next week? Looks like 10% of you say yes, 90% of you are saying no, and none of you are saying next week. Maybe those answers will change. If you want to ever vote in our future weather polls, go to crossroadstoday.com/vote weather and participate and see what everyone else is saying. Well, like I said, it's supposed to be a nice weekend to go to the beach, and as you can see, 87-degree Gulf water temperature. It's like you're basically swimming in a sauna out there. If you're going fishing as well, high tide at 5:40 a.m. today, low at 6 p.m. today. Nice calm seas out there, making way for nice boating and beaching weather. We'll have more look at the weather in just a few moments. Back to you, Carolina.
Blood shortages are impacting hospitals across the nation. Today we have Dr. Adriana Notfelmacher. She's the director of the Donation Center at MD Anderson in Houston. Welcome, doctor.
Hi, thank you so much for having me here today.
Yes, and we're wondering, what are some of the biggest challenges y'all are facing right now as a major donor center with these outages?
Yes, so we continue to have blood shortages. Sometimes we have red blood cell shortages, platelet shortages. This has a great impact on cancer patients because, as you may know, cancer patient depends on these blood products to continue their chemotherapy treatment for major life-saving or life-prolongating surgical procedures. And if we don't have enough blood products, that creates challenges for us and causes us having to limit these transfusions to these patients.
And those could be life-saving transfusions.
That's right. When you are undergoing cycles of chemotherapy, your red blood cell counts, your white cell count, your platelet counts, they drop to dangerous levels, and you depend on these transfusions to be able to continue these treatments. And on a given day, we may transfuse anywhere between 120 to 150 units of red blood cells and about the same amount of units of platelets. So as you can imagine, that's a lot of donations for sustaining cancer patients in one day. When we have national shortages, our blood collection center ensures at least a minimum supply for our patients. So that is why we consider our work critical.
And how can people learn more? I understand y'all host blood drives all across the state. How can someone learn about a local one nearby?
Yes, so we do have a website. It's called mdandersonbloodbank.org. If you go to that website, you're able to plug in your zip code and it will tell you if there's any nearby blood drives. In addition to that, we have our fixed site near the medical center on Holly Hall Street. You can just log in, make an appointment, and create your donor profile and get more information on that website.
Well, thank you so much for everything you do, Dr. Notfelmacher, and for everything that MD Anderson does to fight cancer. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for having me here.
All right, well, don't go anywhere. Coming up, news to know before you go.
The state of North Carolina is bracing for more storm conditions this weekend. This comes a week after the Outer Banks were hit with the effects of Hurricane Lee, and now residents are preparing for additional damage from a tropical storm. Meteorologists predict large waves, high winds of about 55 miles per hour, and tidal flooding along the coast. North Carolina Governor Roy Cooper released a statement telling residents to prepare for the bad weather, while residents and tourists were advised to protect cars and property in areas that are vulnerable to flooding. The state emergency response team will move to an enhanced watch starting today. President Biden launching a first-of-its-kind White House Office of Gun Violence Prevention to reduce gun violence. The new office will be overseen by Vice President Kamala Harris. In addition to the VP, the office's leadership will include Stephanie Feldman, a longtime policy advisor to the president, as the director. Harris and Feldman will work alongside leading gun violence prevention advocates Greg Jackson and Rob Wilcox. President Biden and Vice President Harris believe the new office will allow for the implementation and expansion of key executive and legislative action, ultimately helping to save more lives. Vice President Harris has promised to not stop working to end the epidemic of gun violence. The Goliad City Council approved a tax rate hike during its meeting Wednesday. The Goliad Advance Guard reports the tax rate is the highest the city can adopt without holding a special election to seek voter approval. Interested in giving blood to help another person? Make a local impact by signing up to donate blood on Sunday, September 24th in support of Shirley Krieger Kirby. MD Anderson Cancer Center will have a donor coach on site. The drive happening at Hello Gorgeous Salon located at 1103 Sam Houston Drive. A picture ID is required. Call 713-792-7777 to learn more about this drive or to find one closer to home. Maybe you don't live in Victoria. Go to mdanderson.org/bloodbank. For decades, efforts to loosen the Austin's land use regulations have run into opposition from homeowners fearful of neighborhood change, old school environmentalists, and anti-gentrification activists, even as policymakers increasingly back the idea. Read the story by the Texas Tribune on our website, crossroadstoday.com. And we want to invite y'all to experience our digital streaming service, Crossroads Today Plus. You can find it on your connected TV through Amazon Fire TV, Roku, Apple TV, and Android TV. Just search Crossroads Today Plus. And we do have time for a final check of our Friday, our weekend forecast with First Warn Storm Team meteorologist Parker Cox. Parker?
Thank you, Caroline. Look, live look at Quail right now as that sun's finally coming out. Nice and purple skies. It's also quite nice out there right now, 75 degrees, and that dew point 75 as well, bringing it to 100% humidity. So if it is a little humid out there and foggy out there, just please be careful on the roads. It is a great weekend to go to the beach this weekend, as that water temperature is hot, warm, 87 degrees, basically like a sauna out in the Gulf this weekend. And weather conditions will be pretty nice and clear and warm. So if you're ever thinking about doing something this weekend, the beach would probably be a great thing to do. Or fishing. High tide will be at 5:40 this morning. 6 p.m. is that low tide with nice and calm seas and bays. Look at those temperatures today. Like I said, it's supposed to be nice and warm again. 96 today, 100 in Hallettsville. Look at that all along the coast. 90s and 80s. Look at your 7-day forecast. Here it is. 95 today, 94 tomorrow. Pretty consistent temperatures over the weekend. That's it for the weather. Have an awesome rest of your weekend. Back to you, Carolina.
Thank you, Parker, and thank you for joining us. Have a wonderful last day of summer. It's summer's end. We've reached it. Remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel, Crossroads Today, and join us tonight. Join Don, Mac, and Karina and Gina today for 25 News Now at 5, 6, and 10. And don't forget about Crossroads Football Live.